Welcome back to the Me Podcast with your host, Daniel Bryant. Today, I'm kicking off the Women's of Excellence series that I've started on my channel for the month of March to highlight great and strong and powerful women across America. Today, our first guest is Dr. Endya Perry. Dr. Endya Perry is a very devoted mother and wife. She has been very successful in her educational career and her work career. She has received her bachelor's in accounting from North Carolina State University, her business law MBA from Campbell University, and her PhD in leadership and organizational leadership from North Central University. She has won awards like the Trailblaze Her Award in 2018 and the Working's Mother Award in 2019. She now is the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis for Blue Cross Blue Shield. She's also the Chair of Women Employee Network and member of the Advisory Board. With no further ado, let's welcome Dr. Endya Perry.
Hello.
I'm just very excited to have you on the show today. You were my first choice to have on to start off this wonderful series to highlight wonderful women. You're very powerful, not only to me in my personal life, but I know you've touched a lot of people in your own life. So I want to start off things with a quick question, just give me and all the viewers just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. One, it is an honor to be here. I did watch your first podcast and I was blown away. So very, very excited about this opportunity. My name is Endya Perry, and you did a great job running down my career and the different positions that I hold, as well as the degrees that I have. So I have been very blessed in my life to have experienced many victories and mountaintop experiences. It hadn't been a bed of roses for sure. And so I love the opportunity to really be able to speak with other people and share my story. If my story can help someone else, then I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose. So I love opportunities like this. So I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. So, of course, we talked about your educational career, and so I wanted to give a little insight. I'm in college right now, and I know a lot of incoming freshmen, they have that struggle of finding what major should we choose. You know, there's so many out there. What career path should I look for? Is it, the money? Is it like my passion? What should I look for? So I wanted to go a little deeper dive into what made you decide on your majors?
Excellent question. When I graduated high school and I went to college, I had no idea really what I wanted to do. There's so many different things that I enjoyed. I was an excellent student, so there were a number of career paths that I could see myself traveling. So I switched majors a lot. When I was in my undergrad program at NC State University, at one point I was a civil engineering major, I was a math major, I was a physics major. I literally switched my major almost every semester for the first few years. I would not recommend that because if you look at my transcript, I literally have electives like quantum physics, right? But what I ended up stumbling across, there was a course I took an accounting class as an elective, but I fell in love with it. I love math. I liked money too, so I felt that was a great combination. But I would say while you're in high school, explore different careers. And by exploring them, I mean explore them all the way through. Look at what a day in the life would be. Reach out to people, see if you can shadow them, just go to their job and see what it's like, to see what type of career is appealing to you. When I graduated with my accounting degree, I had a really great mentor. His name was Keith Shipman. And at the time I was teetering on, do I get a master's in accounting? Do I get an MBA? And he was telling me to take my time and figure out what that next step looks like for me. But one piece of advice he gave me that was an excellent piece of advice is to choose a major that gives you options. And at the time, I loved accounting, but I wasn't sure that was going to be my forever career. And so the MBA gave me a broader reach. And so I decided to go with my MBA. My concentration was business law. And so I got my MBA degree. And then working, as I started to move up the ladder a little bit and get into leadership, I found that was a true passion of mine, growing and developing people and helping people to grow and develop, and to help people teach other people to grow and develop. So that became a real passion. So with leadership being a passion, I then pursued my doctorate in organizational leadership to be able to help other leaders learn to lead. And so those were kind of my decisions, the decision trees that went into each of those majors.
Well, that was great. You went into even to my next question of, why is education so important for your personal and professional development? You did great in going into that and how that helped you, wanting to fulfill, to be able to help others, even help yourself in your career growth. So that answered my next question for that. So I want to go into a little bit about your position now, your career now at Blue Cross Blue Shield. Just explain to the viewers a little bit about what your position is and how you were able to move up to that position.
Great question as well. So I am the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis. So the teams that I manage, they perform financial transactions, which include financial planning, so budgeting and forecasting, and then a lot of reporting and analysis that goes into it. So that particular position, when I came out of school with my undergrad in finance and accounting, I worked in accounting for a long period of time, but I found that I really wanted to create change. I could do the reports, do the journal entries in accounting, and I could see the change that needed to happen, but I wasn't in the right position to make that change happen. So I actually left the field of accounting for a number of years, and I worked in just about every other part of business that you can imagine. I worked in marketing for a while. I managed service teams for a while. I worked in, I had a business law team I worked with. So there were many teams that I managed. And then when I came to Blue Cross, I actually came to Blue Cross in digital marketing. So I was working with the digital tools, and I was at an event, and it was actually the Trailblaze Her event, where I was speaking on a panel, and I met our chief financial officer. And he asked me about my accounting background, and I told him why I got out of accounting. And so he explained to me that there at Blue Cross, they really are looking at accounting differently, and that the accounting teams there, accounting and finance teams there, he really wants them to be positioned in a way that they can partner with all areas of the business to create the change that needs to happen. And that's all I needed to hear. So I then went back into accounting, and then got to the director level, which was a dream of mine that at one point in life I actually felt maybe this isn't for me, because I felt that ceiling that we often start to feel. Where I was a manager for a long time and just felt that ceiling, but then the door opened, and thankfully, and I praise God that I was prepared to walk through it, boldly walk through it, and that's what enabled me to get to that next level.
That was great. I like how you talked about that ceiling, and that goes into my next question a little bit about, the adversity that you had to face to find your me, like we like to say here, your motivation and your empowerment to want to reach that level. Like you said, it was a dream for you to reach that the director level. And so I know it had to take some type of motivation and empowerment when things weren't going to go your way. And there's always going to have, bumps and valleys throughout your journey. But it seems like you were able to get through that. So give the viewers a little insight on that, about your adversity.
That's great. And there's several examples that I can give you on adversity that led me to finding, as you said, my me. I'll start when I was a child, actually. I was a gymnast for over 10 years, and I made the mistake of defining my identity by the things that I did, which was gymnastics. So I was Endya the gymnast. That's who I was. And that's the way others knew me. They knew me the way that I defined myself. And when they spoke to me, that's what they spoke about. That's what they wanted to know about. What was your latest competition like? What's the latest medal you won? What's the latest highlight that you were able to achieve? But my senior year in high school, I suffered an injury to my knee that threatened my career. Then later that year, I found out I was pregnant, and my life was taking a different course than what I thought it was going to be. So I was no longer Endya the gymnast. I was faced with the what now question. And so I had to redefine who I was. And the process of redefining yourself is never an easy process, never an easy process. But it's even harder when it's a process and a path that you have to walk alone. When you don't have any cheering from the crowd, there's no fan mail, there's no applause. Those that once encouraged and supported your career now want to make sure that you know that they're disappointed in you. When you have those experiences, it makes it very difficult. However, it was through this experience that I was truly able to find my real purpose. And because I had always defined myself as through my skills and what I could do, finding my true purpose was even more fulfilling to me. I recognized that it wasn't just what I was good at in terms of gymnastics or math. I'm really good at math, but it was about my stories. And it was understanding that God can use the things I'm good at to fulfill my purpose, but my purpose is larger than just my skills. And so when I started to really reflect and unpack my story, I began to recognize certain themes that were in my story, from overcoming obstacles, proving people wrong, going beyond people's expectations, inspiring and encouraging other people. That was my purpose. My purpose was really in motivating and inspiring people to reach beyond what they currently saw as obstacles and limitations to be able to achieve their goals. So whether that's through gymnastics or through my day job or in the grocery store, it doesn't matter. That's my purpose. That's what I'm here to do. And so it was finding that and then holding on to that, because there are times in my career where I definitely encountered discrimination. I encountered all types of things. You name it, I've seen it or felt it. And different roadblocks and obstacles that I faced, I had to come back to that center core of who am I, right? Who am I at my core? Who am I? Because other people and situations will try to make me question that. So I have to know that without a doubt. This is who I am. You may say other things, but I know who I am. And there's many examples I can give, but one in particular, I was in a meeting and there was a man that he was very tall. I'm actually very short. I'm 5 feet tall, but he was very tall. And after the meeting was over, everyone walked out of the room. I was gathering my things. He stood over me. I was still sitting down and he was towering over me and literally said, "What qualifies you to be here at this table?" And at that moment, there are many things going through my head that I wanted to say, but at the same time, I also knew I had a responsibility to represent myself in a certain way and staying true to who I am, right? And so I was able to kindly ask him to have a seat, and I gently placed him back across the line he had crossed with me. And after the meeting, he apologized several times, but I was also able to tell him, you attempted to degrade me, but you did not degrade me because you do not have the power to degrade me. I know who I am. And I walked out that room, and that was one of the first times I had stood up for myself and with who I am, and that I was able to speak on my own behalf. And in the moment, be able to declare my purpose and my value. And after that, and it just so happens a few days later, he needed my help with something. And just seeing him try to come into the room, kind of tail between legs to ask me to help him get through a mess that he had created, it came full circle. But it was in that moment that I had to recognize who I was. So I think that was the biggest takeaway.
I think that's very powerful. To be able, to be in that situation where you're questioning about your qualifications, with everything that you've been through, to be at that point, to be able to sit at that table, not only the educational, but even the personal struggles that you had to go through, and now you're being questioned about, do you belong? And personally, when I speak about the me finding your me, I speak about we sometimes try to find validations within other people, but once we find validation to what God has placed us to be in, then we have no worries anymore. We don't have to meet men or women's standards. We meet God's standards and what He's placed over our life. So I think that's very powerful. I think people will be able to receive that message. My next question I want to get into is a little bit about the double minority standard. That stigma where Black woman, Black and you're a woman in this society where sometimes you're always put on the back burner on things. And I wanted to make sure I made it a priority for this month, for being at Women's History Month, to be able to highlight these women, not only for the greatness that they provide, but they continuously do. This isn't a stop and go thing where they just do it one time. This is continuous greatness that we see consistently. And so I wanted to highlight this. So if you can go into it, how was it to be able to overcome that double minority stigma, and to be at one of the highest levels, within this huge business, Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Great question. And I do applaud you for recognizing women of color and in recognizing Women's History Month. Very, very important. So the intersectionality of being a woman of color in corporate America definitely presents many, many challenges. And one challenge that I face daily is carrying myself in such a way that those around me notice and appreciate my uniqueness. Because a lot of times you hear we're colorblind, right? That's kind of a new thing, but we're a colorblind organization. No, I want you to notice that I am different and that I am unique, but I don't want you to degrade or block me because I'm unique. I want you to appreciate the uniqueness that I bring to the table. And I will say I'm very, very grateful to have the opportunity to have progressed to this point in my career. But I strongly believe that it is my responsibility to make sure I am paving the path for others that look like me to be able to slide their seat up to the table as well. So when I walk into a room and those around me are looking at me as if I don't belong, or looking at me as if they don't want me to be there, or looking at me as if they assume that I'm not going to be able to keep up with the conversation or contribute to the discussions just based off of what I look like. When I find myself in those spaces, I make it my mission to blow every mind around that table so that the next time a Black woman sits at the table, they'll think twice before they doubt her. And I'll give you a quick example. You get the angry Black woman stereotype. And I was in a meeting, and in the meeting, everyone kind of had the bobblehead syndrome where everyone was agreeing, even though it was clear that what we were talking about was the wrong direction to go, that we needed to go a different direction. So I kind of raised my hand and said, well, I really think we need to consider the other set of data. We can't just exclude data. And so all of a sudden someone said, well, we don't want to make you angry. I said, well, okay, what did I say to make you think I was angry? Because see, what I could have done is just kind of been quiet, kept my mouth shut, and just let it pass, right? But instead, I took the opportunity to call them out on that, to cause them to question themselves. You said I was angry, so tell me what I said that meant that I was angry? What did I say that said to you I was angry? They couldn't come up with anything. I said, I raise my voice? I scream? No. Oh, okay. Because I don't want you to mistake my passion for anger, right? I'm passionate about getting things right. I'm not angry. I'm passionate about getting things right. So it's making sure I call those things out. But in terms of what it takes prayer. I am a born again believer. And so my prayer life is real. It's constant all day long and has to be. So prayer, faith, and just staying in the word so that I know who I am.
That's very powerful, very powerful. Prayer changes things.
That's right.
It does. Prayer, peace, press, and patience. Those were my 4 P's, to beat adversity. And you explain all of those in one. So now I want to get into a question that I think is very important. Me being a college student at North Carolina A&T State University, being at an HBCU, I'm surrounded by Black men, but also Black women. And they're in that stage now, coming from high school, or being in college where they're trying to find themselves and where they belong, trying to set their feet and set their standard for their own life. And so I want to add someone that has been very powerful and profound, not only in my life, but even in my sister's life and in my mother's life. You're a very powerful woman. So I want you just to give something. There's one thing that you can give young Black women, all the viewers, to inspire them to be what they want to be.
Wow. I would say learn your history. And I say that because this has been probably one of the most impactful things for me, just studying the stories of so many amazing Black women in history, and not just the women in history of the past, but the women that are around you and your own story. And I'm not just saying this because it's Women's History Month. It is so important to really learn about and take the wisdom from these stories, because that's really what enabled me to face the challenges of being a Black woman, because I was also able to understand that there's also an honor and a privilege in being a Black woman. See, we talk a lot about white privilege and how it opens doors for those that have it. And it does, it's true. It does open doors for them, doors of safety, doors of justice, doors of opportunity get open just because of the color of their skin. But just because a door is open doesn't mean that people are prepared to walk through it. And when I study my history as a Black woman, I find culture and character that will prepare me to walk through any door. And not just walk through the door to walk through it, but to walk through the door to make a difference when I step into that next room. See, it is a privilege to be Black, and it's a privilege to be a woman. And we find this in the richness of our culture. And that comes through studying and understanding our culture. See, we come from a people that make a difference, a people that are necessary and critical to the fabric, not just of this nation, but of this world. A people that are often imitated, but can never be duplicated, because we're a people of authentic truth, passion, and faith. That's the blood that runs through my veins. So when I study my history and I learn of amazing Black women like Maya Angelou and Cicely Tyson, our new Vice President Kamala Harris, and so many others, it really gives me that strength and that courage and that hope to continue. And even again, I look at my own life and I look at my mother, who was diagnosed in 2005 with multiple sclerosis. And at one point in 2017, she lost the ability to walk and to speak. And doctors informed us that due to the nature of this disease, it would not be possible for her to regain those abilities that she lost. But I watched her fight valiantly against all odds and against the limits of what she was told was possible, to stand firm and declare, as Jesus tells us in Matthew 19, that with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. And my mom can now walk and she can now speak. And for me, she's redefined what's possible. She's a living example to me of what faith can do. So I would say to all of the young women of color to learn the stories of our past and learn the stories of our present so that when we face the challenges of our future, we have the wisdom that we can lean on to help us to get through it. It's all about perspective. And there's a quotation that I love that says, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. And it reminds me that it's all about perspective, because I don't have to look at it as being buried by these challenges and roadblocks and obstacles. I'm being planted. And if I'm being planted, then what am I taking from this that can help me to grow? And that's what I would say to young Black women is study the story, study your history, recognize how beautifully made you are, recognize the strength that is within you, and take from these experiences what you should take from these experiences, which are things that can help you to grow and help you to soar.
That was amazing. That blew the house down, and I am happy that you shared that. But I'm more happy, and I'm, thankful that as a Black woman, and you've reached a certain level of success, and you're still, reaching for other goals that you want, but you reached a certain level of success that you wanted. But now you're trying to pour back into the next generation, wanting to be able to have be an example for them, to be able to see a successful Black woman. This is what you can do. This is a pathway you can do this. No matter what society puts out on you. Like I've loved that quote that you said that they tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were a seed. We are all seeds, and we're in that season of growth. We're always growing, and one day we're going to come out, and we're going to be so strong that nothing that they do can tear us down. And so I'm just very thankful that you using your own platform, and you're coming on my platform just to share your message and your strong message to all Black women across America that this can reach. So I'm just very thankful for you being on my platform, and this was a very big success. I really encourage all college and high school young Black women to watch this video, watch it all the way through, because I'm 100% positive you will take something away from this that will impact your life forever. So with that, I want to wrap things up. I just want to give a great thanks to Dr. Endya Perry. You can, if you want to rewatch this will be on my YouTube channel. I'll also post mini clips on my Instagram. And I just want to say thank you to you for coming on this. And to all my viewers, I just want to say thank you to you also.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, no problem at all. I got your back. You got my back. I love you.
That's right.
Don't forget, viewers, have a me day, stay motivated, and stay empowered.